If you are listening to this alone in the dark, you might want to turn the lights on right now, because what happened inside that restaurant still doesn't make sense. And some nights I wake up convinced I can still smell the burnt sugar and cold grease in the air. And the worst part is, people who went inside after closing time were never seen there again. Before I continue, make sure you like this video and subscribe to Unblinking right now. Because the stories we share here are not just stories. They come from real places, real people, and sometimes from places that should have stayed forgotten. If you enjoy true scary experiences told in a calm, real voice, hit that subscribe button and stay with me. The restaurant was called Harbor Flame. It stood at the edge of a quiet coastal town in Maine, right where the fog rolled in thick from the Atlantic. During the day, it looked normal, almost cheerful, with red brick walls and wide glass windows that reflected the sea. At night, it was different. The neon sign flickered even when the power was stable, and the windows reflected things that were not always there. Some locals said it was just the way the fog bent the light, but no one liked walking past it after midnight. I got the job there during my sophomore year of college. I needed money, and Harbor Flame paid better than most places around town. The manager, a tall man named Carl, barely looked at my resume before hiring me. He just said, "You're not afraid of late shifts, are you?" I laughed and told him no. Because at 19, fear feels like something that belongs to other people. If I had known what those late shifts would bring, I might have answered differently. The first few weeks were normal. We served seafood platters, grilled steaks, and the most popular item, a caramel glazed bread pudding that people drove miles to try. The kitchen was loud, hot, and alive with clattering pans and shouted orders. But there was one rule that seemed strange. After 11:30 p.m., no one was allowed in the basement storage room alone. Carl said it was because of old wiring and safety concerns, but his eyes avoided ours when he explained it. The basement door was behind the kitchen freezer. It was heavy, made of old wood, with scratches along the bottom as if something had dragged against it for years. Sometimes, when the kitchen was quiet, I thought I heard faint knocking from the other side. Maybe it was the pipes. Old buildings make noises, especially near the ocean. That's what I told myself every time the sound came again. One night, about a month into my job, we closed late after a private event. The last customers left around 12:15 a.m., and the staff began cleaning up. I was assigned to mop near the freezer. As I pushed the mop across the tiles, I heard it clearly. 3 slow knocks from behind the basement door. Not random banging, but 3 steady taps, like someone asking to be let out. Primera, Furos. I looked around, expecting someone else to react, but the kitchen was loud with running water and clinking dishes. No one else seemed to hear it. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe the building's settling, maybe a loose pipe. Sleep deprivation can do strange things to your mind. The next night, it happened again. This time, I wasn't alone near the freezer. My coworker Jenna was stacking boxes of produce beside me. She paused and looked at the door. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Before I could answer, 3 more knocks echoed from below. Her face went pale. "We're not supposed to open that," she said quickly. Then she walked away as if pretending it never happened. That was the first time I felt something was wrong. Not dramatic horror movie wrong. Just a quiet, heavy feeling in my chest, like the building itself was holding its breath. A week later, one of the line cooks didn't show up for his shift. His name was Marcus, and he had been working there for over a year. Carr said Marcus had quit suddenly, but no one remembered him mentioning any plans. What made it stranger was this. Marcus had been the one who usually went into the basement during deliveries, and the night before he disappeared, he had stayed late alone. People talk in small towns. Within days, rumors spread that Marcus had been seen entering the restaurant after closing time. After that, no one could explain what happened. Carl hired a replacement quickly. He told us not to gossip, not to speculate. "People leave jobs all the time," he said, but his voice sounded tight. The knocking continued. Always 3 times. Always. After midnight, one evening, curiosity got the better of me. We were short-staffed, and Carl asked me to grab extra syrup from the basement. He hesitated before handing me the key. I remember my hands shaking as I unlocked the door. The air that rushed out was colder than it should have been. Not freezer cold, but damp and stale, like a room sealed for years. The staircase creaked under my weight. Each step echoed louder than it should have. At the bottom, a single bulb flickered weakly above shelves of canned goods. Nothing looked unusual at first. Boxers were stacked neatly, labels facing outward, but the back wall seemed darker than the rest. As I moved closer, I noticed scratches on the concrete floor. Long, thin marks leading toward a narrow door I hadn't seen before. It blended into the wall like it was trying to hide. I didn't remember anyone mentioning a second room. Maybe I had just missed it before. I told myself not to overthink it. Then I heard it. 3 knocks, but this time from the other side of that narrow door. Slow and deliberate. My throat went dry. For a second, I thought maybe Marcus was playing some kind of sick prank. But the sound felt wrong, like it carried weight behind it. I stepped back. The bulb above me flickered harder, casting shadows that moved along the walls. Maybe I imagined the shadows stretching longer than they should. I ran upstairs without grabbing the syrup. When I told Carl about the second door, his face drained of color. "There is no second door," he said quietly. I insisted. I described its shape, its position. Carl stared at me for a long moment, then walked to the basement himself. He came back 5 minutes later. "There's nothing there," he said. But his hands were trembling. After that night, I started having dreams. Into dreams, I was standing in the dining room alone. Every chair was flipped upside down on the tables, except one. On that single chair sat a plate of bread pudding. Steam rose from it, even though the restaurant was dark and cold. And from beneath the floor, I could hear faint knocking. 3 knocks. Always 3. Always waiting. The next disappearance happened 2 weeks later. Jenna didn't show up for her shift. Her car was found parked behind Harbor Lane. Police came and asked questions. They searched the building, including the basement. They found nothing unusual. No hidden rooms. No signs of struggle. No explanation. After that, customers started complaining about strange things. Some said their food tasted metallic. Others claimed they heard whispering under their tables. One family left abruptly, saying their daughter felt someone touch her ankle from beneath the booth. There was no one there. At least, no one visible. Carl blamed stress. He said the rumors were getting to us. Maybe he was right. But then the cameras started malfunctioning. Every night at exactly 12:33 a.m., the feed from the kitchen went black for 1 minute. When it returned, small objects had moved. Knives shifted position. Chairs angled differently. Once, a tray of bread pudding was found, smashed on the floor. No one admitted to touching it. No one could explain what happened. And yet, the restaurant stayed open. Money was still coming in. Tourists loved the mysterious vibe. They thought the rumors were part of a marketing stunt. One night, after closing, I stayed behind. I wanted proof that I wasn't losing my mind. I set my phone to record and hid near the freezer. 12:32 a.m. passed quietly. My heart pounded so loud I thought it would echo through the kitchen. Then the clock turned to 12:33. The lights flickered. The camera above the prep station sparked and went dark. And from behind the basement door, I heard it again. 3 knocks. Louder than ever. Then silence. But this time, the door handle moved. Slowly, gently, as if tested from the inside. I stopped breathing. The handle turned halfway before snapping back. My phone slipped from my sweaty hand. When I checked the recording later, the audio was distorted. You could hear the knocks clearly, but there was something else layered underneath. A faint, dragging sound, like something heavy shifting across concrete. The next morning, Carl called an emergency meeting. He looked exhausted, older than before. He announced the restaurant would close temporarily for renovations. That night, before locking up, I went to the basement one last time. I don't know why. Maybe I needed closure. The narrow door was there again. Clear as day, not hidden, not blended into the wall. The scratches on the floor were deeper now, and the air felt colder. I placed my hand against the door. It vibrated slightly. Not violently, just a subtle tremor, like something on the other side was breathing. Maybe it was machinery. Maybe old pipes created the illusion. I still don't know what was real. Before they left, I whispered, "I'm not opening this." There was no response. No. Knocking. The restaurant never reopened. Within months, the building was sold. A new owner turned it into a bookstore cafe. They renovated the basement completely, ripped out old walls, rewired everything. They claimed there was no hidden room. But 3 months after reopening, the new manager vanished. Security footage showed him walking toward the storage area after midnight. After that, the feed cut out. He was never seen there again. Some say he left town. Some say something happened in that basement. Years have passed since I worked at Harbor Flame. The building still stands near the foggy shore. Locals avoid it after dark. Sometimes I drive by when I visit my hometown. The neon sign no longer flickered, but I swear I can still see faint scratches on the side entrance. Maybe stress played tricks on my mind, or maybe some places carry things we simply don't understand. But one thing I believe with certainty is this: everything happens by the will of Allah. Nothing moves, nothing changes, and nothing touches our lives without His knowledge. Everything happens according to Allah's will, and maybe some questions are not meant to be answered. If this story gave you chills, let me know in the comments what you think was behind that door. Do you believe it was something explainable, or something that should have stayed buried? Share this video with someone who loves late-night horror. And don't forget to subscribe to Unblinking for more true scary stories that stay with you long after the screen goes dark. Some places are better left unexplored, and some doors are better left closed. I still don't know what I saw,